You're live on News at Prime. Thanks for staying with us tonight. Devastating scenes of looting in the heart of Johannesburg, and we've seen that particular looting spread out then to different parts of the Gauteng province, in Tembisa, in Pretoria, and we'll give you an update on what's happening in those particular areas as News at Prime continues. So these are just some of the visuals then that we've had throughout the day, some of the scenes we've been watching. Police Minister Bheki Cele describing the situation as a national emergency and saying that these acts are pure criminality, and we'll get then a response from the police later on tonight. We understand that they are meeting this evening to develop a strategy going forward. The Nigerian Consulate-General has also condemned these attacks. In fact, in studio with me, the Consulate-General Godwin Adama joins me now. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Adama. I wonder what you think then when you see how the looting is taking place. What is your response to this violence?
My response to it that the acts of looting and destruction of properties belonging to those who are staying to do their business legally is quite disappointing. I cannot imagine how these guys are going to start again, because it is not easy to have kept and put these things in store, but when you just watch and the whole efforts, the whole thing that you have done is just wiped out, it's very, very discouraging.
One of the things that we've observed is how these incidents take place almost sporadically, but also over a continued period of time. I wonder then, while you observe and you condemn, the kind of work that you as the consulate would have been doing behind the scenes to try and truly understand what is at the heart of this problem and what's really causing it.
Well, I cannot say what exactly is causing it, because it only starts from a trigger. Like the one in Pretoria, we're told a member of the Taxi Drivers Association was shot, and then a demonstration started. And while it did start, people went on looting foreign-owned shops. And in the process, I'm aware that a number of Nigerians have lost so much. Something they have worked for over the years were just flickered away just in a second, in a few minutes and all that. So it's it's something that I believe is really discouraging.
But I would imagine that part of your work here is to report back to your country on the state of South Africa and the experience of Nigerians in South Africa. So in that report, what would you say about the violence and what you think is causing it? So what I'm asking is, have you made any attempts to try and study it beyond what you're reading in the newspapers and what you're seeing in the headlines?
Of course, I do so. As a diplomat, that is my responsibility, to at least look into whatever I see in the country where I am. And I believe that we're doing that to the best of our ability. But sometimes when it happens like this, it's very difficult to understand.
So previously, what have been the reasons that you found, the information that you've been able to gather? Are there any particular patterns that emerge that can be helpful, even for South African officials who also have to try and find a solution to this problem?
Yes, the pattern that I've seen so far is that even though I've seen a condemnation by the ANC Secretary General now, which of course is very, very encouraging. But the truth is, when these looting and destructions of foreign-owned shops are going on, the police just stay there and do nothing about it. That is what I have seen in some of the areas. And from what the Nigerian peoples have told me, a lot of the times, where there are no sanctions, impunity will continue.
Is there any particular report that you, as the consulate of Nigeria in South Africa, have compiled and given to the government of South Africa on whatever you've been able to look at or research, that also then in some way or another would help you hold government accountable today. And what I'm really pointing at here is moving the conversation forward, because oftentimes we get caught in the back and forth and it becomes a blame game. But as long as there are no proper mechanisms in place to try and find solutions, it means that we're going to consistently be trapped in the cycle. So I'm trying to find out, have you done anything beyond this that points to the fact that, you know, there could be some further work that can be done here?
Yes, of course, we have a diplomatic channel to do so. We have a High Commissioner in Pretoria who has been working on that and also communicating at the diplomatic level with the South African authorities through DILCO, that is the Department of International Relations of South Africa. So that is going on, and that is not an issue which we could just discuss just on the table here.
But are you satisfied that there can be any solutions to this issue? And if you are, what are those solutions?
I believe there should be a solution to this. The two countries are relating at the diplomatic levels, and I believe that we have channels of resolution of our conflicts or wherever they appear. The only thing there is a need to be able to make arrests when such things happen, and people need to be tried in accordance with the law so that it could serve as a deterrent for others when they want to do it next time.
But we've seen people arrested in violence, whether you go back to 2008, which was round about the first major occurrence of xenophobic violence that at least we saw on a national scale. There were arrests then too. It hasn't necessarily prevented xenophobic tensions from emerging within our communities. So while arrests fulfill a particular purpose, surely they can't be the only answer to the problem that you put on the table.
Yeah, another issue there is that there need to be more of interface between the peoples-to-people relations, because at times a lot of things are based on perceptions, and some of these perceptions could be wrong. Like I said earlier when I was having an interview in the SABC, criminality or crime is not a nationality of any country. And an attempt to label individuals' attitudes directly with the country sometimes creates negative perceptions. And that alone can heighten xenophobic attacks. And that is what I see happening in some of these cases.
Are you doing work to promote that one-on-one interaction between South Africans and Nigerians?
Yes, we are doing a lot on that. Even in a recent meeting we had with some members of the South African authorities, that came on the table, even at the youth level and some other levels of interaction. And we are working towards making that work. And I believe too, sometimes before now, we are working on a project which could help to be able to, curb some of these issues by creating levels of understanding in a kind of forum that will bring the two sides together to appreciate each other in many other positive ways.
Do you think that this is being treated as the emergency that it is, not just from the side of the South African government, but even from your side as the representatives of some of those nationals who would find themselves under attack in this very country?
Yes, of course, it's being treated as an emergency. And the truth is that every one of us gets overwhelmed. Why? Even while I was talking of Taufontein, earlier it was JP's Town, and then Marvin. As I was coming this way, I learned that it has started again in Newtown. So the spontaneous nature of the attacks and the violence makes it very difficult to be able to have...
What are you doing to show that indeed, from your side, you are treating it as an emergency?
We have, we're working on that, rendering the appropriate reports. Early this morning, I was in touch a number of times with the high offices of the South African police force, and of course to be able to lay certain complaints, and I was told that there's going to be immediate interventions. And of course, aside from that, we are constantly in touch with the leadership of the Nigerian communities, the Nigerian Citizens Association, and all that is going simultaneously, trying to find out the next thing that has happened and the next step to be able to take to calm down this situation. But we have not really been able to succeed much in that respect, because as it's getting over in a place, it starts up in another. And the greatest fear now is that this could again spring up this night if nothing is done to be able to keep the situation in check.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there for tonight. Let me thank you for your time. The Nigerian Consul-General Godwin Adama speaking to us there about the chaos that we saw in the Johannesburg CBD. In a moment, I'll remind you then of the day's top stories, and we'll get into other news unfolding throughout the day. You're live on News at Prime. Ele só.